Hey guys, what is going on? Sharp Thinking here. So I haven't made a video in a couple of days and I've actually gotten in a couple new knives. This is a Microtech Sigil. It's not a knife that's in production currently, which Microtechs, they tend to discontinue a lot of knives. But I do think it's a knife worth making a video about. I think it is, interestingly enough, major competition for another Microtech, and that would be the SOCOM. So, for those of you guys that remember the video I did on the SOCOM, I love this knife. It's probably one of the best knives of all time, in my opinion. I know it is a little bit big for most people. It's a 4-inch blade, but for me, not too big of an issue. I think it compares pretty favorably. They're both ground very thin, flat grinds, or partial flat. Bigger knives, and they're very well made, both of them. But I guess we'll start off with the size comparison while we have that out. Here's a Microtech LUDT. And you guys saw the SOCOM. Do some Chris Reeve. Sabenza 21. Umnumzan, Wilson Combat. Actually, both of these are Wilson Combat. And we'll do a Benchmade Griptilian. Here it is against a XM18 non-flipper. Then Spyderco Military. Strider SNG. And then one more, another Microtech, also one of my favorite knives Microtech makes. That is a 3V Stitch. These are back in production. If you can get one, I highly recommend it. But yeah, so I guess we'll start with the handle, as I do in many videos. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the blade. So this is an M390 blade. They made these in two different blade steels as far as I'm aware of, LMAX and M390. This one is M390. Microtech's M390 is okay at best. It's not great. It's not going to hold an edge for that long. It's going to be about the same as your typical production M390. Now, Spyderco has had some great examples in the Bento Box PM2 of M390, but even then, not all of them are well heat treated. So, if you're a big heat treat fan, snob, whatever, I guess it depends on which side of the fence you're on, then might not like that about this, but you can always send it off to get reheat treated or just have a new blade put in. But that's going to be, a couple $100 at least. Blade shape is kind of a, God, I can't talk, reverse, or not really a reverse Tonto, kind of a sheep's foot Wharncliffe hybrid. Typically not my favorite, but what this knife does right, in my opinion, is it stances the edge a pretty good amount forward, so you can actually get a lot of contact when you're just holding the knife in a typical hammer grip. So not too many complaints there, which actually a lot of Microtechs tend to do, like the Stitch. The ProTech TR4 is another example. What did I do with, I guess the SOCOM is not a great example. It's kind of right in line with the handle, but yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. So it is one of the thinnest knives I own behind the edge, shockingly. So it's got the same blade stock as the SOCOM. However, this knife, I believe, is ground thinner than the SOCOM. So this is a 16 degree per side bevel. It is incredibly thin behind the edge. It's thinner, or probably not thinner than this, but it feels to be right on par with an LUDT. This one has been sharpened quite a bit from the factory. They're a lot thinner, but kind of a testament to how thin this is ground. It's a very robust tip too, which it is. Where's my SOCOM? Here it is. You can see you have more material all the way up to the tip than on a SOCOM. Kind of a win, not gonna lie. I think that's cool. I think it it's a very aggressive looking blade shape, and I do like it, which I don't often like these blade shapes with a lot of flat, but on this knife, I love it. Jimping, kind of whatever. I don't love jimping. This is about as grippy as it can get with, or no, I wouldn't say as grippy as it can get without being painful. This is kind of more of indexing, I should say. It's not really jimping. If you like jimping, like the Spyderco style, you're not going to like this jimping, but it is what it is. What next? It's got a sharpening choil. Well, I don't know if it's a finger choil or a sharpening choil, but I would not consider this to be a finger choil. You can see the tip of my finger is still too wide to get an adequate grip, let alone, further down on my finger. So I'm going to call it a sharpening choil. So for what it is, which I'm, again, calling it a sharpening choil, very well done. I do enjoy that. This cutout in the blade is kind of cool, actually. It's a great way to deploy the knife. If you like to fiddle with knives, you can middle finger flick this, and I don't know, it's a fun knife to play with, which I have not had a knife that's super fun to play with like this, that has, multiple ways to deploy it in a very long time. And that is because I don't really value actions. It's not really my thing. On the SOCOM, I can certainly appreciate it, but I like the knife because of how functional it is as a cutting tool. Now, this is still extremely functional. I would say just as functional as a SOCOM. So yeah, this thing has a lot of things going for it. Moving on to, I guess we'll talk about the action a little bit while we're already on the subject. Ceramic ball bearings, steel lock insert, kind of what I criticized a lot last year. In this instance, it's pretty well done. With a steel lock insert, I always like to see a little bit later lockup, which you can see is the case on this knife. It has a detent ramp back there. So what you'll find with a lot of ZTs is when you're going to close them, which not a ZT, I realize that. The flipper will kind of bang off your thumbnail, and then you'll have to push on the blade quite a bit to get it to break over that detent. This just has a ramp, so it's not really even something that you'll notice, which I think is cool. The SOCOM has one. Actually, let me double check that. Yeah, the SOCOM has one. This knife has one. I think it's a kind of a nice thing, to be honest. Over travel stop. Copper in this case. They did make these in carbon fiber with a carbon fiber one. I think they made a G10 or, oh no, aluminum. That's what the other one was. I like all those options, not gonna lie. Like, I'm not really a super big high-end handle guy. I'm good with aluminum. FRN I could do without, but as long as I have G10, aluminum, carbon fiber, titanium, I'm good. Most of the time I'm good with aluminum, like in the LUDT and SOCOM. But in this knife, funny enough, full titanium, very well done. I like the finish on here. It's the apocalyptic finish. It's very even, even on the blade, very even, very consistent throughout the whole knife. I think it's well done. What was I about to say? Oh, interestingly enough, these knives, while being so similar in size, actually weigh about the same. And this has a full titanium handle. This has aluminum. And they're the same size blade stock thickness. So I thought that was interesting. Kind of was not expecting that. And it just makes this knife carry so much better than it could have if it had not been milled out on the inside of the handle. Now, another thing that I like about this is how thin it is in the pocket. So it's about the same as the LUDT, which is pretty thin. I don't have any super thin knives. I would say that the Sebenza is fairly thin. It's a little bit thicker than the Sabenza 21, and it has that flipper tab, but non-obtrusive in the pocket. The flipper tab, honestly, not really a big issue in the pocket either. But yeah, I don't know. I like these handles quite a bit. The lock, we'll talk about the lock. The lock, you can see there's some lines milled in there. I think that's just for show. Lock bar cutout is, what do you call that? Tension cutout, I guess. That's where the tension is actually put on the lock, is on the inside. Pretty good amount of tension on this. I can't talk. I would have liked to see more on this, not gonna lie. With a steel insert, I feel like you lose the perks of having titanium. So with a titanium lock face, you get that kind of stick to it a lot of times. And that's really a benefit, in my opinion, to a titanium lock face. Now, I don't mean stick that you hear or feel, but it's kind of like a small bond that's created between the lock face and the tang of the blade. This doesn't have it, but what I've noticed a lot of companies do, like on this knife, they add more tension. So this XM18, which is a Gen 6, has significantly more tension on the lock bar than my Gen 4 did. And that's the case with a lot of knives with lock bar inserts. My bad. Losing my train of thought here. But yeah, hardware, Microtech hardware, you see it all the time. You saw, like, I think it was on the DOC. It's on the LUDC. It's on a lot of knives. I know some people don't like that. I don't really care. I got this knife used, and I just blew the inside out with compressed air, and it's been fine. Damn. Guaranteed in every single one of my videos, I'm going to drop a knife, forget what I'm talking about, and have to start the video over 5 times, which hasn't happened yet, so pray for me. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool knife. I really enjoy it. I would pick up a second one, honestly, but I'm trying to not do that anymore. A couple weeks ago, I ended up with like so many duplicate knives. I had 3 Microtech SOCOMs, like 3 Sabenzas, 2 Umnumzons. It was just getting to be a lot to have tied up in a hobby. So I'm really refraining from doing that, but hopefully they'll bring these back. Talking about ergonomics on this knife, very good. No hot spots that I can tell or detect, I should say. I don't know what that was, but yeah, pretty simple handle. One thing I don't like is kind of this double finger groove right here. Usually that's not a win. In this case, it's subtle enough that it's not really bothering me too much. But if you're using the knife, you will notice this corner right here. But I think the knife probably would have looked a little odd if they had just kept this straight. So I don't know. It's kind of all a balancing act. But what have I not talked about yet? Detent, not that great, but not bad. Pocket clip. This one's well done, surprisingly. I don't love milled clips. I prefer spring clip, like on this CRK, or who else has a good spring clip? Like on the SOCOM. But this one works, carries pretty deep, and it doesn't have any retention issues at all. But yeah, that's basically it. I might do a long-term video on this. I'm not sure. I'm definitely not going to sell this knife. Oh, by the way, titanium backspacer. Really, really nice knife, I have to say. And for the money, I feel like it's not that much coming from Microtech. So it's an M390 titanium ball bearing flipper with copper accents, 3D milled clip, really well made in America. This is like kind of your typical Wii or cookie cutter Wii knife, but just made in America, and it's I think only about like 450, 550, something like that. Um, which is not bad. I mean, there's people that complain about the Chris Reeve Sabenza. Like this example was 550 new. S35VN titanium, basically the same thing. Chris Reeve has a better heat treat on their S35VN. That's a whole different video. I don't know why I even brought it up, but I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. So I'm just gonna end the video. But yeah, if you have the chance to, I would definitely recommend checking one of these guys out. Yeah, definitely time to end the video. Yeah, great cutters, great little EDC, especially if you like larger knives. I think it's going to serve you well. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.